Testing 1 2, testing 1 2, or is it testing 3 2 1? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Live from My Mother's Basement. And I got to tell you, this is a long time coming.
Yes.
I have been begging, praying, hoping that this young lady would come to New Jersey somehow, and she did. So without further ado, a big name in the comedy world, this is Christy Miller. And I know everybody's applauding. You can applaud down here in the basement. We got a studio audience again. We brought back the studio audience because the pandemic's over. We don't want to hear about that shit no more. We can do whatever we want. No social distancing, no masks, and no sex. All right, there was a big pause. All right, folks, I've been promoting this show all week. If you've been watching The Morning Walk, and I've been telling you the history of how we know each other. And it's really important that I think everybody really listens very, very closely, because this is all about what I would say, and maybe you would agree, where we went to college. It's our college time. So for all intents and purposes, we're sitting in the basement right now having a conversation with someone I went to college with, but haven't seen in quite some time, because like everybody else, when you graduate college, you go. And your life becomes something different. Maybe you get married, maybe you have kids. Maybe you go into the business that you went to college for, maybe you didn't. This is about the college of comedians. I almost said clowns.
Same thing.
We're not clowns, are we?
Look at the makeup.
All right. Clowns. She's looking at my makeup. Son of a bitch. We're going to go backwards in time, and we're going to come all the way to today. But I know Christy Miller from my time and her time at the world famous Comedy Store in Los Angeles on the Sunset Strip. And ever since you and I started talking, and you said you were going to come to the basement, I can't stop thinking about those days.
Yeah.
Did that do that to you?
Oh yeah. It's whenever I reconnect with somebody from the Comedy Store, it's like this whole wave of memories come back, and I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot about this. Oh my God, those are the best years.
It was the best years. I miss it so much. You're talking about a time where you were broke. You would work
What do you
for.
mean when?
No, we were really broke. Broke.
Were?
Like we went there. We're gonna fix that. We're gonna fix that. We went to the Comedy Store every night of the week, whether you were on or not, for $15. You had to wait a week or 2 weeks to get it.
Because we had to make sure the check cleared.
Yes, there was that. Oh, you remember that?
Yeah, we robbed Peter to pay Paul.
Yes, and they both worked there. They were the sons, Peter and Paul.
Good night.
Thank you. I'll be here all week.
and they're still there.
Holy shit! What a memory.
Yeah, it's those were the great days. The best thing about the Comedy Store that I have found in this country, and I'm sure you've seen this too when you work the clubs across the country, there's no family unit of comics like the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
And I know
agree.
the Comedy Cellar is pretty close here up in New York City, but it's not the same. Like at the Comedy Store, if you didn't
This is our
have
main camera.
Is that our money camera?
Yeah, it's our main camera. And we are taking in money tonight. So if I hear that bell ring, we will shout you out. So whoever's watching on Facebook right now, make sure, thank you for watching on Instagram, but send that money. Hit that bell. You can support us because, you know what, we're still broke. And we could use a couple of dollars.
Listen,
But go ahead, you were saying.
Speak for myself.
Say,
We're the worst evangelists on the planet, you know?
yeah. I wonder. I went to the Comedy Store from New Jersey. Where did you come in from?
San Francisco, California.
See, I never even knew that. I thought when I met you, you were a New Yorker. Maybe it was because you had that like tough vibrato, and you were one of the, we got to talk about the girls coming up at the Comedy Store. They had it rough.
Yep.
There wasn't that many. They were fighting off so many male comedians coming in from around the world. People went to the Comedy Store from around the world. You would hear accents. Thank you for the cashiola. It worked. Okay, let's say hello. She went into her strip dance. Anthony
And then I got booed off the
DiPonte.
stage.
You look absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for coming.
I look great for 81.
You have to do a shout out to Anthony DiPonte's in Long
Oh,
Island.
Anthony DiPonte, thank you so much, bro.
100 cents.
Long Island.
Yes, he's in Long Island.
No, you got to put the G in the second word. Long Island.
Long Island.
Oh my
Hot.
God.
Ooh, he's saying you're hot.
Aw, thanks.
Thanks, Anthony. Who's hot? Me or her? We're both hot. It's very hot in the basement. We've got the fans on. This is really old school broadcasting, man.
Literally in his mother's basement.
So yeah, well,
Literally.
she's here too. She's a ghost. She's flying
night.
around. Yeah.
What's the Ouija board?
If anything,
Oh.
it's true. Sometimes my TVs go on and off, just randomly. San Francisco. I never even knew that then.
A lot of people didn't. Even growing up, they thought either I was from Jersey or I was from Brooklyn. It was
Right.
like North Beach in San Francisco was a lot of old Brooklyn Italians that migrated. And they landed in San Francisco and took over North Beach.
That's
Don't
true.
Forget about it.
That's true. There's a lot of Italians in San Francisco.
Yeah.
In fact, the whole square, the Girardelli Square, where there's a lot of good comedy clubs. Used to be
Yeah.
Cobb's Comedy Club up there, the Punchline.
Still there.
So, hopefully after this podcast, we'll get to go on tour up there.
Yes.
You get to go home.
We could go as the trashiest Sonny and Cher comedy duo.
I would do that.
Right?
I would do that. Sonny-
Because, Cher, sweetie, my daughter's a man, woo!
You stumped me. I was trying to figure out if I could do Sonny, but I can't think of anything
You want
he
to do
said.
Sonny?
What did
Look
he
out
do?
for that tree! Boom! Is this thing on?
They had a show. Remember that? The Sonny and Cher
Oh, are you
show?
kidding? I still watch it. That's how tragic
You
I
did her
am.
really, really well.
I do.
That's fantastic.
Don't you remember I used to do Cher in my act? That was like my big closer,
Oh, wow.
like 20-something years ago.
I'm trying to think. Right now, I got to tell you, you got a guy hitting on you. I'm from Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. Oh, I thought you were the Anthony Ponte that's in Long Island.
Oh, the best.
So it's
All
Anthony,
right,
this
Bensonhurst.
he's from Brooklyn. I remember last week we were talking on the show, and you were hanging out with us. So hang out, Anthony. We got a new guest, of course, and if you want to talk to her, we'll make that happen. I'm sure she'll come out and do a show in Bensonhurst.
I rarely do travel that far out of Hell's Kitchens.
Really? Bensonhurst is close. You can get to Bensonhurst pretty quickly. Yeah, that's what happened to my
That's
hair.
a lot of jokes that went over your head.
Yeah. All right. She's from San Francisco, and when you went to Los Angeles, was that like the move to go down to L.A., or you went to
Yes.
go sample it, try it?
No, I moved. I just packed up and moved
Right.
and just left.
Drove.
Yep, a U-Haul truck.
So you come into Los Angeles with the goal of stand-up comedy?
No,
No.
I went there to just my best friend was an actress, so I moved down there with her and we were getting into acting, and I always wanted to do stand-up since I was like 7 years old. Because you remember those shows? They had the San Francisco Big Laugh Off, the Chicago Big Laugh Off, the New York Big Laugh Off, all those shows on Showtime in the late 70s, early 80s. It was kind of like the original Last Comic Standing kind of
Right.
shows, but funny comics. And
A better
I'm
generation.
so getting canceled for this.
That's okay.
I'm just
Say,
being
no,
shady.
you be
It's just
shady.
being fun. It's
Be-
just fun.
Be
It's all
shady.
breaking balls and
wrote,
having a good
they
time.
wrote a song about being shady.
What was it?
I grew up in Bensonhurst, living in Long Island now. Oh, all right. Stop confusing us, Anthony. We're busy. We're trying to figure out why she moved to L.A. Right now, it's because a friend of hers was an actress.
So we moved down there. Ended up working on this movie called Strange Days for a few months, doing like light stunt work. Like and we were a group of extras, but we were trained in camera fighting and stuff.
This camera.
And how dare you?
Yeah, well, we don't have the real studio audience. We're talking to the audience out there in the.
So
These two.
we would create chaos, like choreographed chaos around the principals, around like Angela Bassett, Ray Fiennes, Juliette Lewis, Tom Sizemore.
They were there?
Yeah, they were in the movie. So we created for months all the craziness that was going on in the movie. So I worked there for a few months, and then once the movie wrapped, we were sitting in our apartment, and Kira was like, if you don't get on a stage and do an open mic and try stand-up. I'm going to kill you, because I always talked about it. And I was like, all right, fine. So I said, all right, I'm going to go to the Comedy Store and I'm going to get a job as a waitress. And if I get a job as a waitress, then that means I'm supposed to be in that building learning and watching and doing open mics and developing. And if I don't get this job, then I'm not supposed to do that. So I went there. David Schuler, remember him, the day manager? Dave Schuler?
I can't think of who that is.
Okay, that's why he ended up going to jail. And was that loud?
Didn't they
I'm
all?
sorry. Yes, they need to. And
Half the comics came from jail.
hello, what do you think we got our material from? So I went there and I had the job in like 30 seconds because he was a big old gay bear. So, you know, me being a hag. So I was like, yes, girl. So then we bonded. I had a job and then I started working there. And that's how it started.
So you were a waitress at the Comedy Store.
Mhm.
I don't remember that. I just remember you being a comic there.
Yeah.
You waited tables at the
For like
Comedy
a
Store?
year and a half.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I
See,
had
I don't see that. I see you beating the shit out of somebody because you got a drink wrong.
That happens.
Yes. There was a lot of people who, well, female waitresses
Mm-hmm.
only. I never saw any males.
Nope, they never hired men. Now they
Female
do.
waitresses, and I remember a certain amount of them. I can't remember the faces or the names, but just a few.
Remember Eleanor Kerrigan?
Of course, Eleanor. We're going to get into that,
Yeah.
and you know how she didn't seem like she wanted to be a comedian when she was a waitress.
She never did.
That's the weirdest thing because mostly everybody who got a job at the Comedy Store
Was a comic.
wanted to be a comic. The guys who worked the door,
Yep.
the guys who parked the cars, the bartenders, everybody wanted to be a comic.
Now remember, that time, that was a time when Mitzi Shore, the owner of the Comedy Store, back in the late 70s, her husband Sammy ran off with a blonde waitress to Vegas and left her. So none of the waitresses could be blonde. And none of the waitresses were allowed to talk to the comedians. So when Mitzi came in, it was like militant. It was like you were like marching and you had to shut up. Comics could only talk to you if they were ordering a drink. Other than that, no, if she caught you talking to them or even saying hi, you were fired.
Holy
So,
shit.
because I was a comic, we had to hide me a lot. Like they had an employee list. So like us that worked there was the potluck from 7 to 8 was all the open mics, all the crazy people. And then from 8 to 9 was all of us employee comics to work out. And then from 9 to 10 was Mitzi showcases.
Yeah.
And then at 10 o'clock, the room switched over to pop-ins, and that's when the paid regulars could come in. So they would have Scott Day. Remember Scott Day?
Yes, of course.
That's my dude. I miss him. I love you, Scott.
This guy passed away
What?
not too long ago.
Who?
Oh, wait a minute. No. I was
Oh,
thinking
bite your-
I was thinking of the piano player,
That's Jeff Scott.
Jeff Scott.
The
passed
gay
away.
Scott. No, not straight Scott.
Yeah. Scotty Day was the talent coordinator,
Yes.
which was the guy who got me my
Yeah,
shit.
Exactly. Yeah. And so Scott would have a separate list for Mitzi than the cover booth on Sundays for potluck for the
No
employees.
shit.
Because the one for the cover booth had my name on it. The one for Mitzi didn't have my name on it because we weren't allowed to do stand-up. We weren't allowed to be there when we were off work. I mean, it was crazy, crazy rules. So at one point, they got the list mixed up and forgot to take it out. And Mike Becker, Scott Day, Dave Schuler, Mitzi Shore, they're all sitting in the meeting in the video room. And she's like, what's this? And she sees it and they're like, oh, fuck, Christy's getting fired. And she goes, Christy's a performer? That's great. And she
Oh.
was so excited because I pretty much did every job in the Comedy Store. I was a waitress, I worked cover booth, I answered phones, I was assistant talent coordinator, I worked in accounting.
Really?
Yeah, I did everything. So she used to call me her all-around girl. So whenever you talk like whenever you tell Mitzi stories, you have
gotta
to talk
sound
like her.
like her.
Yeah, it's in our blood.
We're talking about this woman, Mitzi Shore, who owned what became one of the most famous and still is the most famous comedy club probably in the world. People from around the world will do anything, including jump off a building
The Hyatt,
to
to be
perform
exact.
at this place. What started as a small comedy venue back in the day when you would see guys like Jay Leno on stage, but even further back from that, became an icon. And it used to be a famous restaurant before the Comedy Store was called Ciro's. Ciro's had guys like Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis perform there. Then when Mitzi and her husband took it over, it became stand-up comedy, and then it grew. It had one room, then two rooms. Now there's three rooms. There's the one they call the belly room, which is supposedly amateurish.
It used to be, the belly room was set up for female comics, because back then, every 8 to 10 male comics, there was one female. So Mitzi had the belly room designed for female comics to develop their craft, because there wasn't a lot of stage time for women. So, and the main room was the main room, all the Vegas show acts, and then the OR, the original room, was where the magic happened.
Yes, magic, drugs. I remember when I first started playing the Comedy Store, people were still smoking cigarettes
Yep.
in the room.
We had to put ashtrays on all the tables with a book of matches in it.
I would give anything if I had one of those books of matches and that ashtray. They got to
had
be
them.
around somewhere.
They're probably in the basement of the Comedy Store, because Jeff Scott, before he died, had all that stuff meticulously labeled, and everything was organized. Like, he handled all the archives.
For a very long time, the Comedy Store was basically the college for stand-ups. I think everybody even said that. And every once in a while, let's say in my generation and your generation of being there, you'd see the older generation come back, and it was like gods showed up, and you're like, wow. And then there were some comedians that were super famous. Something happened, they had a fall from grace, and they weren't famous anymore. But when they came walking into the room, they can get whatever they want, as fast as they want. And you sat there with your jaw wide open going, I can't believe they showed up. And then eventually you realize they're actually just human beings, and you slowly but surely became friends with them. And then you ended up maybe going on tour with them, and so on and so forth, and then the wheel starts to turn.
Yeah.
So what year was it that you went to? Can you remember?
1995.
95. I think I went there around 93, 94. I don't remember. But I didn't go to California to be a comic. I was a working actor in New York City. I grew up doing TV commercials. I was on As the World Turns. I never thought I was going to tell a joke. In fact, I used to tell people all the time, I can do that. I'll just be an actor pretending I'm playing the role of a stand-up. And then people say, where are you going to get the jokes from? I'm like, I don't know. I'll just make fun of my mother. And that's what actually got me into it.
Right.
But I never really wanted to do it. I actually got my audition for Mitzi Shore because I used to teach comedy traffic school at the Improv. That was my
right.
part-time loser
I
job
forgot about that job.
on a Wednesday and Thursday, where you would teach this traffic safety course done by comedians who supposedly could make it funny, so you didn't want to kill yourself for 8 hours. And they promised me that I would get to play the Improv, so you give out these free passes to the Improv. So for about 3 years, I'm teaching, and nobody ever gave me the time of day. Bud Friedman would treat me like a dirtball.
Very
And
nice.
then one
very
day,
nice,
yup.
very nice.
He was the owner of the Improv. So in comes walking Mitzi Shore's accountant, and he said, I think you're really funny. I'm the accountant at the world-famous Comedy Store. Would you like to audition for Mitzi? And I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm going to lose my job if they find out I go over there. Because
Yeah.
at that time, there was
At that
rivals.
time, yeah, it was completely. It was like the Red Sox versus the Yankees. Like,
And
you
then the Laugh Factory was all against everybody, too.
Yeah, 'cause
they
they were
even
the-
had baseball teams
yeah,
and
because they were the
softball
Mets.
I ended up playing for the Mets.
I'm sorry.
So I remember. No, it's all right, man. Let's bring it. And so he got me the audition for Mitzi, and I went down there. And at that time I would do impersonations. I didn't really know how to do stand up. So like everybody else, I did Sylvester Stallone. I did Robert De Niro. All in
Wait,
the
an
parody.
Italian doing an
Yeah,
Italian
I know, go
actor?
figure.
You are so controversial.
Yes, man. I really know how to think out of the box. And I bombed at my first audition, and she was sitting in the back of the room, this little lady, and
Oh my
Historic.
God.
Why are you doing that? She said to me, why are you doing that? And she was sitting next to Wheels Parisi, who
Oh,
later
God.
became one of my best friends.
Oh.
And he's sitting there going like this. He goes, nobody's going to like that, bro. That's not you. And she goes, that's not who you are. Why don't you tell me who you are? And I'm like, all right. I really don't even know if this is something I want to do. No, I think you should come back. So I went back there a little bit later, in maybe 2 months, was it? 2 months you had to wait? I
You had
didn't
to
wait that
6
long.
months, but usually
I
it was
actually
like,
didn't.
It was like 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, I remember that thing, but maybe because I knew the accountant, I got to go back pretty quickly. And when I went back, I did the same impersonations.
I know the frickin' accountant.
Yeah, I know somebody. We know the guy with the numbers.
You know the guy that runs the books?
Yeah.
Forget about it.
I went there. I went back there to do the thing, and I sucked again. And she goes to me, why did you do that? And I go like this, I'll be honest with you, lady, I don't even want to be a comedian. This shit sucks. I can't stay in California. The pizza sucks. My car's always breaking down, and I'm always in traffic. So fuck this noise. She goes, that's who
funny.
you are.
Yeah.
Now you be a regular. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I remember crossing the street. It must have been 1 o'clock in the morning, calling a friend, going, "You won't believe this. I'm going to be a regular." That's when it was Air Touch Cellular,
Yep. Oh, I remember.
and you had to hang up right away. I got 3 seconds to tell you.
I'm gonna call you after 7.
Yeah. Remember
Yeah,
that?
I do.
Wow, there was times on the phone that were cheaper.
Yep.
Wow.
Nobody talked to me till 7:01 p.m.
Yeah, don't call me. And so that's how I got in, and I started to really, really love it. Then eventually you start meeting all the other comedians, and you become starstruck.
Yep.
So when did you become? Did they make you a regular, or did you just let you do what you wanted because you were working there?
No, she made me a paid regular. I showcased like a human being, like a normal comic, and I went up in front of her. And I remember the first time I went up, I was really nervous. And I was so scared because I didn't want her to hate me. You know, like she could fire me for this. And I was so nervous, and she could tell. And she was so adorable. You just want to put Mitzi in your pocket and carry her around. And she gets up, and I was very close when I started there to a gentleman who was known as the legend, Paul Mooney. And he became like a father figure to me. Are you related to him? Because your last name.
It's a different totally different relationship there.
But he's awesome.
Yeah,
Oh, you know Paul?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
No, of Paul Mooney?
I know of Paul.
Oh, this is going to get great.
It's like, yeah, we used to own him. Anyway, so.
That's something Paul might have said.
I mean, I don't know him personally.
So he was like a father to me. So like he's sitting with her, everybody's there, and she looks at Paul and she goes, "Oh, she's too black. She needs to lighten it up."
Really?
And because I was so nervous. So I was like, I was trying to, so I was like, I took a breath, and she goes, just, so I came back a little bit later, and I just regrouped, and I busted my ass those couple of years just to make sure I had a solid hour before I went up in front of her. And I just wanted, because you had to, because it sets were 15 and 20 minutes long. You couldn't do every single joke you ever had in that 15, 20-minute set. You would die.
Yeah.
So I came back a couple months later, so just, all right. So Scott's like, "You ready?" I'm like, "Yep, let's do it." So I went up, and since I got the first time jitters out of the way, because I was so scared she was going to fire me, like, oh, this is the end of my world, then I was fine. And I went up and I murdered it, and she's like, "Call in your veils. I'm so proud of you." And I
Yes.
started my first, and then the next night was my, it was Sunday, Call in the Veils Monday. And I had a spot Wednesday, because she did Wednesday through Saturday, and I was brought up on my first paid regular spot by Mr. Dom Irera.
Really? All right, let's give everybody the history on all of that really good shit. First of all, you have to understand the room on Sunday night for the people auditioning was pretty empty.
Yeah.
We had a mutual friend for many, many years who played the piano in the corner underneath a blue light. When that blue light went on, you got the fuck off that stage, or you ain't never coming here again. And do you know what it's like to try to tell jokes in front of nobody
Oh, yeah.
and really do it, no matter what?
Yep.
Do or die.
Yep.
And you had to pretend in your mind that this place was packed.
Yeah.
And the people in the room, quite honestly, were comedians waiting to do what you're doing. So they're not really laughing. They probably were in their minds going over their act or wishing you bad karma. I believe that.
Yeah, I think they were more so in their head about what they were gonna do, more than wishing an because everybody's so self-absorbed and full
Yeah.
of their heads are so far up their own ass, they can see their own throat choke, when they're trying
But
to get ahead. in
I
the game.
remember people would whisper in Mitzi's ear while you were doing your audition.
Yep.
And that used to set the comedian on fire because you could see it.
Yep.
And you feel like going, dude, stop talking to her during my audition, man.
Yeah.
Because this was some serious shit. Everybody wanted to get in there, and it was pressure, game on.
Yeah, because it was so feast or famine back then, and back then it was famine, because it was the dark days of the Comedy Store. If you guys watched on Showtime, Mike Binder did the documentary on the Comedy Store, and that was the dark era.
Was it?
Yeah, and it was when we'd have a show at 8 o'clock, and the show wouldn't start till like 9:15, 9:30 because there was nobody there. So all of us comics would go to the hotels and put stacks of Comedy Store tickets with the concierge. Please give these to your hotel guests. Make it part of your thing. So we had this really good rapport with the Mondrian and with the Hyatt next door and with the Standard down a block. And just to get people in. So when it was tourist season, we'd have a lot of people, but they were all free tickets. But it didn't matter. Mitzi got the drinks, and then we got stage time.
There were 3 rooms that we were talking about. And they tried their best to have all 3 rooms running at the same time. And yeah, I guess I remember it was kind of like the dark days because the club was going into, I don't know, wasn't as popular, wasn't as famous, wasn't really clicking.
Well, it was
Had
back
nothing to
in
do with the comedians.
No,
The
it
comedians
was-
were all good.
It was the dawn of the internet, the beginnings of the internet. It was people with, you could rent movies at home now, like DVDs, and the internet was born. Then there was the writer's strike, and then there was all this shit going on. So people just didn't go out anymore. Like, oh, there's this new thing on the internet. I can look at weird videos on this thing called the YouTube.
Yeah.
The 10-minute videos. And it was just like a weird, dark, transitional time. And it was what it was, and then it just rebirthed itself. We just kept grinding and grinding and grinding and creating things and doing different rooms and creating independent shows and trying other venues, just to get stage time. But we would always, Mitzi would give us the belly room to do whatever we wanted in. So we'd all do like one man, one woman shows up there. I had a band open for me up there one time. I did
yeah?
a one woman show. Oh, this blues band. The girl was from Jersey. She was amazing.
No shit.
Yeah, and then Vicky Barbalak opened
Vicky.
it. Yeah, she opened the show for me while they tore the band down on the stage up there. It was so that was a magic night. Like, that was amazing. But it was such a free-for-all at that point because, so when Mitzi was starting to get really sick.
Try anything. Yeah, she
Yeah,
got sick. She wasn't coming to the club that much.
Yeah.
And I remember I would host the Sunday night open mic. And
That was my favorite thing to do. I don't know about you.
I did it because I wanted to have as much stage time as I possibly could. Now, ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. Now, you got to hear this because a lot of people ask us these questions. Do you know certain people? Okay? So Sunday night open mic, they had the 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, which was the amateurs.
Yeah,
The
8 to
people-
9.
something
7,
like that.
7 to 8 was the open micers, the ones that signed up on the list.
Right.
8 to 9 was the employee comics, the ones that worked there. They weren't paid regulars, but they were employees, like doormen, phone guys, and parking lot guys. Then from 9 to 10 was always Mitzi showcases until she started getting sick, and then the showcases would get delayed and delayed, so it would just run over with employees. And then the MC would do then after those 3 hours were over, that's when we would do our 10-minute spot to turn it over to the pop-ins, to the MC for the pop-ins that night.
Right.
And then that's when paid regulars came in and signed up that they were there. And it was like a first come, first serve. Unless you were a celebrity, then you get to bump everybody and do 3.5 hours, Eddie Griffin.
Okay. So that brings us to this.
Was that
I'm glad.
loud? I
I'm
needed
glad
my
she.
inside voice.
I'm glad she remembers it to the detail. Because all I can remember is I did it for a certain amount of time, and the host of the show before me was Freddie Soto. Now, this guy, Freddie Soto,
My Freddie.
was probably about to be the biggest
Sitcom.
Spanish
Yeah.
comedian around because he was killing it.
Yep.
Everybody impersonated him because he used
How
to
many
impersonate
S's
his
are there in
father.
the word chicken?
Yup.
You're like, put 4.
The funniest shit, this poor guy died at 33 years old.
Yeah.
And I was pretty good friends with Freddie, and then I would take over the show, and he would leave, and away I would go. And I remember everybody would go, get me up, get me up, get me up, get me up. Fast, 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 because we all knew Eddie Griffin and Andrew Dice Clay were going to pull into the parking lot. And as soon as you saw them, you went home.
Yeah.
Because they're going to go on stage, and they're not going to get off for hours. And they would actually perform in front of nobody
Yeah.
and just keep going. I remember sitting in the back of the room with Wheels and Dice, just sitting there for hours in this smoke-filled dungeon, hoping we would tell a joke. And you didn't, because they went on. And you get to watch this legendary comedian, Andrew Dice Clay. I remember being so blown away. Because how were you not a fan of Dice your whole life? And here he is.
Yep.
He's in the room.
Yep.
And he would go like this to me, Marino, I'm next. And I'm like, of course you are, Andrew. Of course you are. And then he'd go on stage and we'd just leave because he's not
Yeah.
going to get off the stage.
I remember when I used to host, he'd be like, you hosted? Yeah. Bring me up.
Bring me up. What do you want me to say about you?
I said, this guy's new to the game. I'm not sure. I would fuck with him so bad. He'd die laughing.
You're not going to know who he
He
is.
loved it. I've never heard Andy,
The Dice.
DJ, is it Italian?
What is it? What is it you do?
But I love Andrew. That was one. I learned a lot watching him, and of course Paul Mooney, because one thing I talk about this with Andrew too, and I was like, one of my favorite memories at the Comedy Store late nights when there's nobody in the room, maybe one person, and it's just us comics and a waitress, just wandering in the building, lost, crying, desperately trying to find the exit because it was dark, killing ourselves. And praying a ghost would inhabit us and we'd die.
That's
And
another
then-
comedian that did go on stage and just took over, and that was Paul Mooney.
Yep. So Dice, I told him, I said, one of my favorite memories is the commitment to a joke. I mean, this man has a commitment to a level I've never seen, and he will commit with 1,000%. If he's getting nothing, he would stare at the little red exit sign over the back stairs down to the hall there in the OR, and he would stare at it, and he would focus, and he would point and just stop, and he was so intense, and I'm like, he's trying to make that exit sign laugh. Like, it was
Yeah.
so amazing, and I
Yeah.
said, I learned so much when I was a young comic from you, and then watch Mooney, because Mooney always told me, homie, it doesn't matter if there's one person or 100, do your show. So I never forgot that when I started. So there could be 2 people in the audience left, and they've been there since 8 o'clock. It's now 1 in the morning. They've
Yep.
heard every single joke that was ever written since the dawn of time. And now you got to go up and entertain them like an asshole. So
Yes.
I go up there and I would just throw it out. And we have so much late nights there at the Kinnison spot was the greatest spot ever.
A lot of history. A lot of these guys actually lived in some of the housings behind
Yep,
the
Crest
Comedy
Hill.
Store that were owned by the Mitzi Shore, and she would let guys stay there for certain amounts of times. But I remember when Dice would finish, it could be like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and yeah, I know. I don't know what the hell happened. Don't say that too loud. We're recording. Yeah.
No, I love
Dice
him.
would
He's
actually-
a good friend of mine.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I know Mark.
He lives in Scotch Plains.
I know.
Oh.
That's my dude.
All right.
I love that guy.
Well, we're saying hello to Markland, Scotch Plains, or Mr. Direct, actually. Mr. Direct just dropped by. He's a little
You
late,
could-
but I'm glad you guys are friends
Well,
with
he's
each other.
late. Actually, he's really on time. So
Yeah, this is
we're all
on
right.
time. We were just talking about one of his friends, Paul Mooney. Never mind. That didn't go anywhere.
It went nowhere. That's
Didn't go
like a
anywhere.
1970s racist uncle joke.
Okay, shit. Well, hey. It worked in the basement for a little while.
And that's where we keep him. Good night. Thank you.
I remember watching Paul Mooney, and he would do some really, really incredible stuff. And
Oh, he was the professor.
yeah, when I was doing the Night of 1,000 Guidos with all the Italian comedians, I
All
remember he
eight
was
of you.
watching, and he comes over to me and he goes, "Italians on Baywatch, pretty good. That's all I got for you." And then he walked away. I
Wait.
think like he hated everybody.
Mooney said that to you?
Yeah.
Why did you do Mooney as Dice?
No, I said he came over to me.
Yeah,
I
you
can't
went-
really do Paul Mooney.
Oh, Italians on Baywatch. That's good.
Something like that.
Very white.
Yeah.
Of course, there's no Italians on Baywatch. Everybody be 6 feet under with cement bricks on their feet.
Listen to this lineup,
Horrible.
and then you can all ask Christy if this is true. When I first was asked to do Night of 1,000 Guidos, this is the lineup. There was a guy who was really a wrecking ball, doing really great big things. His name was Vinny Favorito. At the time, Mike Ricca was like what I felt was one of the biggest names up and coming at the Comedy Store. You remember Mike Ricca?
Mm-hmm.
Mike Ricca. And then Joe Rogan. I never even knew Joe Rogan was Italian, but he is, and I
His
believe he
mother's
was from
Sicilian.
Boston.
Yeah, he's from Boston. His mother's Sicilian, and his dad is Irish.
He was in the show. Andrew Dice Clay was in the one particular show. He came out as a host, and then there was Dom Irrera. Every once in a while, you would see, rest in peace, I can't think of his name, Italian guy from Brooklyn, New York. He
That
was,
narrows it down.
he had like 12 specials. Come on, he was. You
know, the guy with the,
the
head
guy
and
with
the
the
thing
thing.
and the thing
Well,
and the thing.
he had a show called The Platypus
You
Man.
mean Richard Jenny?
Richard Jenny.
I love that man.
And then
Very sweet to me.
that's when Wheels was in the show. Sebastian Maniscalco.
Oh, meals. Oh. That's what Mooney used to call them. Meals.
And who else was pretty unknown and then became really, really well known? But that was a
Who said
really fun
Sebastian?
time. Sebastian Maniscalco, who was brand new to the club.
This guy?
Yeah, I remember Sebastian's opening line used to go like this: "I'm pissed off. The week I had today, so I'm shopping."
For my weekly meets.
Wheels would walk up on stage and go, "Oh, I'm exhausted. I walked. You see me?" No, but the whole way, I didn't even take a break. I came from over there. And he was in a robe and slippers. Oof.
Oh, that used to kill me.
He used to go like this: "Fuck the skinny people. Be somebody. Gain some weight."
One of my favorite lines, because Wheels' jokes are the most simplest jokes on the planet, but his delivery was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I used to love when he'd go, "You ever been to Japan? A lot of Japanese over
Yeah.
there."
Oh, you think we got them here? You should see them over there. Everywhere.
So stupid.
And you come to the United States, they don't come out at night. They just work during the day. That's it. I to this day would say he's one of the funniest guys that was
His
doing
delivery was the greatest. Like, he
Yep.
had the best delivery. Like, the simplest shit you'd read off a Dixie cup when you
Yeah.
were a kid.
Yep.
He would murder with it. I would bomb and then be banned.
He wrote a bunch of bits for me, and when I would do them, it would
that's
always
what
work.
happened. Dun, 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 dun.
You know, you would actually see this in the parking lot. There'd be about 20 comedians till 3, 4
Just
o'clock in the morning. The
breaking
place would be
balls.
closed,
Yeah.
and the ball breaking. And I
that was
don't
the
know,
best times.
I don't know when he came on the scene, but here comes Joe Diaz.
Uncle Joey, the king of swing.
Joe
Giants.
Joe Diaz to this day still owes me $20.
You ain't getting it.
You remember the time when people would say, "Can you spot me 20?
Yeah.
Spot me 20."
See, that was Wheels. You shook his hand, you were out $65.
Oh yes. Wheels never had any money. Nobody had any money.
No,
Ricca-
Wheels had money because it was yours.
Yeah, Mike Ricca always was. Can you spot me 20? Spot me 20. And he was on that Lyricist Lounge on MTV, so he was becoming a big thing.
Yeah.
And then
And then-
shit just happens. It don't work. Then
Yeah.
you get guys like let's name some friends. All right.
Do it. Drop him.
Let's see if we can't drop them. First of all, the female comedians at the Comedy Store really did have to be something special because you didn't see that many. And at
Mitzi
that time,
loved very carved out characters. And
yes,
strong. She didn't like sissy, silly. Oh my God, my boyfriend left the toilet seat up, and I went to pee at 3 a.m. and I fell in. What's that about? She hated that. That was my whole act.
there were comedians before our time, like Shirley Hemphill, and
Mooney found her at a bus stop.
really, if you remember her, she became one of the stars of What's Happening. And she was a big name at the Comedy Store. Very, very funny.
Oh,
she
was
was.
the best.
There's pictures at the Comedy Store when they had a woman's softball team. Maybe they had a guys softball team. I don't know.
No, they were too hungover.
There was a strike at one time at the Comedy Store. It was started by. What's his name?
Oh,
A couple of the guys did
yeah,
it.
old guys. Yeah.
They're still around,
Yeah.
but that was. And then one guy supposedly became a regular and didn't do the strike or whatever he
Jay
did.
Leno, I think, crossed the picket line. Wasn't it Jay Leno?
I think it was Jay, but there was that one guy, I forgot his name, and he ended up committing suicide. He
Oh,
jumped
yeah,
off.
because he couldn't get stage time.
Could you imagine? It meant so much to this person that he killed himself.
Yeah.
He jumped off a hotel adjacent to the Comedy Store, hoping this was what the rumor was. He was going to land in the Comedy Store parking lot,
Yep.
and he didn't.
He didn't have good legs.
He didn't.
He didn't have a very strong vertical.
He wasn't that good of a comedian. He
His
didn't make.
vertical side.
He didn't make it to the stage. He fucking wiped
He tried
out.
to land on the stage.
He landed in the wrong
in the
parking
laundry
lot.
room.
That's so wrong.
It's so rough.
But it's true.
It's
You
true.
can look it up. It's
Yeah.
all in the books and everything.
Oh yeah.
And then I remember when the first time I met Luca Polanyi. Remember Luca?
I still talk to him.
You still talk to Luca.
Oh,
I
yeah.
do too.
Well,
And
Tammy's like my sister,
he ended
you
up
know?
marrying Tammy Pascatelli, who's a
Yep.
very well-known comedian.
Love, that's my sis.
Luca Polanyi pulls into the parking lot in a huge Cadillac.
Yep. He was the. Hey,
Guido.
Anthony from Bensonhurst.
knows him?
You probably know him.
Yeah, he's your cousin. He crashed into my car. He hits the back of my car, Luca Polanyi. He comes walking around the back and he goes, "Hey, what's going on?" I says, "Hey, man, you just hit my car." And he goes, "Is that yours?" And I'm like, "I love this guy. I'm going to be friends with him." That's exactly what he said. "Oh, is that yours?" "Oh, it's yours." And then you become friends. "Hey, can you spot me 20? Is anybody really wearing a white T-shirt and a leather jacket anymore?
Yes.
Brooklyn.
Luca.
He did that whole thing. Remember, he would go on stage. He goes,
My name is Luca, and I live on the 3rd floor. It was so bad.
he would go like
but
this,
it was so great.
"Just do everybody else's act."
Dice used to get so mad at him because he would do Dice right in front of Dice. It was so great. I said, "This is if you get Dice off a Wish."
Andrew Dice
Oh, that
Clay.
fell far. I'm sorry. I'm not bad. I, didn't
I
mean to bring
remember
the room down.
when I was hosting the open mic, my father came to visit. Now my father, he don't know anything about stand-up comedians. He's still wondering what the hell I'm doing. My mother was there, so Wheels is in the parking lot.
Can you spot me 20?
Who was with my best friend at the time was Wheels. Me and Wheels were like
Right.
thick as thieves, me and him. So
Well, he is a thick
my
thief,
father,
isn't he?
he's very thick. He's 350 pounds of thickness.
I'm just so mean.
He's sitting in the parking lot. That's okay. He loves you.
I love him too. That's why I bust his balls.
And at that time, I think Joe Diaz was there. Chewy, remember the guy who worked
Hey,
the
bro.
door?
Hey, bro. No, he didn't work the door. He worked the parking lot. Hey, bro. You can't park here, bro. Hey, bro. You can't park here, bro.
The
move
face,
the car, bro.
the face of the parking lot was this Mexican guy they called Chewy.
Chewy Castro.
He had a black hat on, and he was fat, and he didn't say much. He just looked like he would kill you.
He looked like the lead singer of the Fabulous Thunderbirds if he was Mexican.
I wonder if he's alive. Chewy.
Well, I heard there was a rumor he was dead.
Yeah.
You remember his blues band, the Chewy Castro?
Yes.
I used to sing with them.
Oh no shit! Across the street when the House
At
of
the
Blues opened. Yep.
And then Mooney would be over there, "Oh, homie. Over here we are at the House of Blues, but across the street we have the House of Jews."
I can't say this, but I remember Paul Mooney going like this. "I say the N-word so much it make my teeth
I say
turn
it
white."
100 times every morning. Makes my teeth white. I just said the end.
So my father's outside, and he was a cigarette smoker. At that time, everybody was smoking in the club, and I don't know who he was outside with. My father comes inside and he goes, "Hey, listen, your buddy outside tells me you're doing really good. He's going to take you on the road with him." And I go, "Who's my buddy?" He goes, "The guy out there holding court. He keeps taking my cigarettes." And I go, "Dad, who's taking your cigarettes?" "Your
Joey
friend with the
Diaz.
leather jacket." And I go, "You mean Andrew Dice Clay?" He goes, "I don't know what his name is. He's right over there." And it was Dice. My father don't give a shit.
You don't care.
He don't know who he is. And then Dice took me on the road, and we played West Orange Rascals, and my father was there, and he wouldn't stop talking to my father. He just loved my dad so much. Because, you know, when you're talking...
Because he was real.
He was, yeah,
And he was a
he didn't give a shit. He goes, so getting back to the female comedians.
Yes.
Wheels Parisi. I remember watching Beaumont Bacon.
Oh,
You didn't like her?
God.
She was very family.
Damn it!
Yes.
Rogan used to call her Beaumont Kinnison.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She was a good
Because all
comedian.
she did was yell.
Yell. She'd scream. But
Yeah.
Mitzi put her in the main room.
Mitzi
She was always in there.
loved Beaumont.
Beaumont.
Loved her.
I like Tama Shosh. Tama? Shama Tosh.
Shameless.
Shameless.
Yeah.
I thought she was funny.
Okay.
I can't think anybody else off the top of my head. Who?
Well, back then we had Sherry Shepherd.
Okay, we all know where Sherry Shepherd
Kim
went through the roof.
Tavares, Retha Jones.
Retha Jones is back on the circuit
Yeah,
now.
she is. I'm
retired for a
so
while.
happy. I'm like, yes,
She's
bitch,
cool
come
as
back.
shit.
I hooked her up. A friend of mine down there who does a lot of rooms in Orange County is like, she goes, "That's your girl?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "I'm gonna hook her up." I'm like, "Yeah, she's amazing."
I remember she used to go on stage. You go like this, "Man, I've been dating this guy, man. He got some dookie stains in his drawers." Did she say dookie stains?
Remember, she's like, "I couldn't be on Baywatch, like Booty Watch," or something like that. Retha was like, she was great. And then remember, Roberta Kent would come back around and open the main room. Of course, she's gonna kill me. I just blanked her name. Cheryl Vendetti used to open the main room every Saturday night. And then
Cheryl
Arvis
Vendetti.
Hamilton.
And Cheryl Vendetti was in A Night of a Thousand Guidos.
Yep, she sure was.
We did A Night of a Thousand Guidos once. I don't know how Mitzi did it, but that room was packed. And she put, Italian tablecloths on the tables.
Yep.
They had pizza. And Dice's friend, Dice was on a show at this time, and the friend was the co-star. She was in Raging Bull. Who am I thinking?
Kathy Moriarty.
Kathy Moriarty.
Drunky Brewster is
Yes.
what I used to call her.
So she came out to host the show, to introduce Dice. She goes backstage and passed right the fuck out. And they
Cold.
said that she was all coked up or whatever.
She was drunk.
They had this green room backstage of the main room that was just like something out of the 1940s.
Yeah, it
Didn't look like a
still has it.
Flappers.
It's still
Yeah.
it's still intact.
And it was just really, really cool. So, but
Yeah.
then I think it came around to the early 2000s where I saw a lot of our friends start to go over to the Laugh Factory because there was a rumor that the Comedy Store was going to close.
Yeah, the rumor was that Pauly Shore was going to turn it into a strip joint. And I
Yes.
said, good luck. And they all bought into that rumor. But like Eddie Griffin put a roof on it. I think Rogan paid some bills. Like a lot of the comics paid the bills. What was his name? Janet Salvo's watching. Hey, Mama. She used
No
to
way.
manage, yeah, she used to manage the club for a while, and I love Janet.
Janet!
Janet, what was
Look.
his name? That paid to have all our names put on the wall. That was updated. What was his name? I could see his face. The tall white guy. What was his name?
Tall white guy.
That narrows it down.
Everybody.
Oh, you mean the guy with the head and the two hands? Yeah, that guy.
Janet was the manager of the Comedy Store.
One
and
of the
she's watching.
37,920 night managers.
Okay,
that
but
we
here's
had.
some good history because she was the manager while Matt Bon Jovi was the manager.
Yep.
And a lot of people didn't know Matt Bon Jovi's actually John Bon Jovi's real brother.
Yep.
He wasn't really telling everybody because he wanted to make it on his own
Yeah,
in
he wanted
showbiz.
to make a name. Yeah,
Janet, I'm coming to New Hampshire on July 29.
she's in Maine.
Oh,
She's in Portland.
isn't that close?
She'll drive.
Drive. Mike, I'll see you in Laconia. No, see? Maybe
Okay.
you moved. Where'd you move to? What kind of a talk show is this?
This is the worst talk show.
Where'd you move to?
What are we in court? What are you breaking her down? All right, where were you?
I can't believe you're watching right now. Is this incredible? Is this making you homesick for the Comedy Store good old days?
This show should be called When I Was Your Age.
When I was your age. I will be there. I'm 2 hours from Laconia. I will see you in Laconia. In fact, maybe we'll have to bring Christy with me. We're going to drive out to Boston.
I love Boston. It's one of my favorite cities
It
to
is.
play.
Miss you guys.
Because you know what? Miss you too, Mama. Boston is just trash, and I love them.
Yes.
They're just garbage, and I love them.
We need to play Boston. Isn't this great that we're giving everybody all these great memories of a place that really is a college for stand-up comedians? Now, I started to get itchy, and I'm like, you know what? I better get over to that Laugh Factory before I can't get in. I started to think all the comedians are going to run over there. We're talking about a couple of blocks away.
Yeah.
And I went over there, and I got an audition for the Laugh Factory because of Bobby Lee and Ralphie May.
Ralphie May and Paul Mooney were my audition for Jamie.
Really?
Yeah, I had Ralphie May on this half of the room, and then Paul Mooney sitting next to Jamie.
That's some power. Wow.
It's a big joke. Big.
Really? It went over my head?
Ralphie.
Yeah. Oh, Ralphie May.
He was a lineup. I miss Ralphie more than anybody.
Ralphie May,
Was the funniest, greatest, died too young.
500-pound, jolly Texan.
His laugh.
Genius! Ah!
He was one of my favorite human beings in the entire world. So Ralphie sat on one side of Jamie and Mooney sat on the other side so nobody would talk to him. And then Bob Saget comes in right as I'm going to go up. And Ralphie's all, get away from him.
Yeah.
He wouldn't let him talk because he's like, our sister's going up. And I went up and I did my share stuff because it was very timely then because it was, Believe was big and Chaz had come out of the closet and was, a thing. And
I really do
You know,
miss those days
and
because
I killed it, and then I got passed, and then I got like 1 or 2 spots, and then that was it, and I just never went back.
why?
I just got roped into the Comedy Store. I was getting
Oh.
spots every night.
When I started playing the Laugh Factory, thank you for the cash. Send us some more. Who's that from?
You?
Oh, it's Mike Marino. No, it's another guy named Mike Marino. Zambuca shots. We'll do some in a little while.
I like how you have somebody else with your name in
Yeah.
there.
Well, hey, got to make some money somehow. I got
Does
two.
does this guy get royalties every time?
He only sent 50 cents. What am I going to do with that?
Oh, you could do a lot with 50 cents in Hunts Point, darling.
Yeah, I can't even park your car anymore.
Oh, yes, I can.
I
Give me
went
2
o-
quarters, I'll get it. Don't worry about it.
I
got
ended up
this.
going over to the Laugh Factory,
Yes,
which
you-
was cool, but I still would tell everybody I really cut my teeth and got my
Chops.
chops at the Comedy Store because you
You
got
did.
your ass kicked.
Well, the Comedy Store, like I told them, it's like the Comedy Store, the Improv, and the Laugh Factory. It was kind of like, they were like frat houses, but the Comedy Store was the only frat house. And I always tell people, like, the Improv was the very corporate, suit and tie guy, very, all stiffy, cruise ships, corporates. And then there was a Laugh Factory, which was the WB, all the Wayans brothers, my peoples. And then the Comedy Store was like Animal House. But
Yeah.
it was just a shit show. Like, everything happened in that building. Nobody acted like a degenerate in the Improv or the Laugh Factory. Because then Jamie would be like, you have to go the other way. And then, the drugs and the sex and all the crazy shit that would go on in the Comedy Store. It was like the jazz club.
It was
And if you...
Animal House.
Yeah, improv comics they couldn't handle Comedy Store vibe. It was too clean. They were too clean.
There were
for
nights
us.
at the Comedy Store, and it's sad that we don't have Instagram and videos
No.
of this shit.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
I wish we did.
Thank you, Lord.
I used to run one-nighters. They'd pay you $20 and a sandwich. I remember everybody
You got
went.
that much?
Ralphie would go, and all of these cats and Joe Diaz. I remember getting in the car and driving all the way to La Jolla with 6 guys.
Yep.
Everybody pitched in a couple of dollars for
Yep. Oh,
gas.
those were good
it was
days.
hours away. You
La
had to drive
Jolla.
all the way back. And I remember one time Joe Diaz was a partier.
That dude is the greatest storyteller
Party.
ever born in this planet.
He would always go like this to me, Marino, where's Wheels? Where's Wheels? He's right there. I got a part in a movie called Hanging in Hito. And you remember Fat James, who worked the door, rest in peace, Fat James. He was friends
Fat
with
James.
Me and
Uncle
Joe
Pa's at the
Diaz.
Comedy Store.
I got
It's
those guys
Fat
apart in this
James.
movie. We go down to hedonism, and there's Joe Diaz in the water.
Yep.
And he goes, hey, Marino, I got fired. I go, what are you talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Then he goes, these guys won't give me what I need. I need my per diem. I go, it's an island. Where are you going to spend the money? Everything here is free. And he goes, well, there's some things they don't have that I want to get. And I go, oh, Joe, come on, man. I'm the one that brought you down here. I'm going to get screamed at. Then the director's like, hey, your buddy is looking for marijuana. I'm like, well, we are in hedonism. They sent them home.
Sure.
Later that week, I don't know what we were doing. Marino, you spot me 20? But I do remember there was a fight. Well, there was many fights at the Comedy Store. Not amongst comedians.
Oh.
Well, maybe amongst
You
comedians. I don't
missed
remember.
a
I
lot
never
of
got
those.
hurt by any of that. I stayed away from that shit. But I do remember one night. You guys got to think of this. In this little area, not only was there the Comedy Store, but there was club after club after club. So anybody in this area on the Sunset Strip is pretty much wasted. Across the street was the House of Blues. Right next door was there when they first put in that where you ride the
Yeah, the
bull.
Saddle Ranch.
The Saddle Ranch. The expensive
I like
places.
how he described
The
it.
Saddle Ranch. You did it too. Look.
I'm imitating you, you fuck.
It's getting late. Have another beer. And I remember something happened, and I think Joe was dating one of the waitresses at the time. Maybe he's the one that became his wife.
Laura.
And he ran into the street like he was going to kill somebody. And I remember her going, Joe, no, no. And within seconds, there was about 6 different comedians right behind him,
Yep.
ready to go to war. And I remember I was there, it was with Luca, and I'm saying to myself, oh, man, do I got to get my ass kicked for this fucking Puerto Rican guy?
Cuban.
Cuban, from Jersey. He owes me a phone call. Joe, would you watch this show, please? Janet's watching.
I'm the king of swing. I love my Uncle Joey. I remember one of my favorite stories was when he first got to the Comedy Store. Mitzi was in love with him because he was such a character. You know,
Yeah.
he was such a carved out. The story, this man is probably one of the most charming men you ever met. He could charm the pants off of anybody. I don't mean like literally, but like he would work a room. And if you were like some stiff upper lip, you know, conservative prick, he would have you as a best friend in 90 seconds. And you'd be doing blow off a hooker's ass in the bathroom, you know. And he was amazing. And he had a spot, and Rogan pulled in, and I'm standing in the back because Uncle Joey's on, you know, because this was always a show. You didn't know what was going to happen. So this particular night was like a Friday night, and it was pretty full in the OR. And Rogan comes in because he's going, you know, he's the name on the marquee and stuff, and Joey's up there. He walks in, and I'm standing in the back of the OR, like where all the comics stand before you go up, remember, against the wall there. And all of a sudden he walks in, Uncle Joey standing on the tables in the front. The front was all long tables. And he drops his pants and he's doing the helicopter. And he was packing. Like that's used to always say, I was a Chippendales dancer, but the steroids backfired. I got a big dick and a lot of personality. And that was his thing. And he's swinging it like a helicopter. The crowd's going nuts. And Rogan's like, who is this guy? Oh my God. I go, it's Joey Diaz. He's new. And they became instant best friends because he was so crazy. But that was Uncle Joey. I mean, that was just a normal night.
Crazy, crazy times.
Yep.
I was there the night when Joe Rogan went on stage and had his little tiff with,
Carlos, I'd already moved
Carlos
to New York.
Mencia.
I was bummed I missed it.
really?
Yeah.
Sitting in the back of the room watching, going, where is he going with this?
It was a long
They never
time.
fought. I couldn't believe they didn't swing. I thought for sure these guys were going to beat the shit out of each other.
Well, the thing is that I think Rogan was trying to get Carlos to swing first. Because, in California back then, it's like you have to make the person swing first before you swing. So it's self-defense. And
Oh, I didn't even know.
yeah, and so I think they were trying to get each other to swing first. And Carlos was never going to swing on Rogan. He's not that stupid.
I
He's
didn't
retarded,
know
but he's not that
Rogan was as deadly as he was most
Yeah.
of the time I was there. He always just seemed like a really nice guy. He didn't have any tattoos.
stupid. Joe
I,
Rogan's
I,
a sweetheart.
I met
and
Joe
he's-
Rogan when he was on
News radio.
news radio,
Yep.
and then didn't really think
then-
anything other
yeah.
than that. Seemed like a
And then
nice
he got
guy.
Fear
Came
Factor.
over there.
Yeah.
I thought he was from Boston for whatever reason.
Well, he was.
Is he? He's a Boston guy?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really have an accent at all.
I think he left when he was like 19 or something.
Right.
And he went to school, so a lot of them, a lot
How
of
long-
guys go to school to lose their accent.
What made you leave California and go to New York?
Mooney.
Oh, really?
It just, nothing was really happening, and I was just in a really bad place, like mentally, like just depressed. And I would go to New York with Mooney, like since like the end of '99, and open forum at Caroline's. And it was just like, wow. And I was only doing comedy like 4 or 5 years at that point, and I'm like, this is how they treat Mooney in New York? They're lined up around the block for him
Oh,
at
yeah.
Caroline's. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I go, this is how you deserve to be treated, not like frowned upon or hated on like in Los Angeles. I go, the energy here was so magical. So I would come regularly with him to Caroline's, and I'm like, and he goes, honey, you need to move to New York. They love you here. Fuck prejudice, LA. Oh, come to New York. So I did.
So how long you been in New York now?
Since 2005.
Since
It's like
2005.
18 years now. Feels like a
And-
minute.
Working the circuit. What else you do?
I just do the road, work the circuit. I have a podcast that I just started about 2 months ago called Old School, New School Comedy Podcast. And it's just me and whatever, it's comics, old school comics. Like if you're ever in the city, you have to come do it. I do it on Sundays at 5, and it's just audio, but it's on Spotify, Apple, Acast, everywhere you stream, it's on. And I'll have like New Jacks on there and talk about their experience, like coming up in the tech age, because we didn't have technology.
No.
You know, what was our Facebook status or our Eventbrite was putting flyers on windshields, or
Postcards.
standing outside the Rainbow or the Whiskey Go Go and pass out flyers after a rock band let out.
That reminds me of another friend that we had.
Who?
He used to work the door at the Rainbow, and he would always come over to the Comedy Store.
Oh yeah, my buddy, Joey Buttafuoco.
Joey Buttafuoco, and he hung around with Downtown Ronnie from Brooklyn. There was real wise guys at that time hanging around at the Comedy Store. Isn't that
Oh, yeah.
amazing? Remember Downtown Ronnie?
Oh,
He
yeah.
always hung around with Wheels and Mike Ricca and all.
Yep.
He used to manage Dice supposedly.
Sure.
I'm the manager.
Yeah, forget about it. I
you've been-
managed to keep them alive in case. I don't know.
I think a lot of people used to think, and I still do, because you're in such great shape, that you would do in training as well, or you just happen to.
I used to, but it's my nerd. The gym is my nerd. Like
Right.
everybody has their nerd. Like some dudes have comic books, or Pornhub, or or whatever. But my drug of I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I'm straight edge. My drug of choice is the iron.
Right.
So, and I am just a amateur fun. I was starting to compete before the pandemic, and then all that went out the window during and after, and was in powerlifting because my best friend is a world champion. She just competed this weekend and broke records. She's 70 years old, from Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. Her name is Ellen Stein. She's this tall and this big. She's 5 feet tall, 130 pounds. She squatted. What did she do this week? She deadlifted 445, was it? She benched 209 and squatted like 396. Yeah. She broke her PR of like 1,030 pounds for the meet. Yeah, and she's a powerhouse. Like when I grew up, I want to be like her.
Holy shit.
And
So
so-
you have a gym in Hell's Kitchen that you go to?
There's a few of them.
Yeah.
There's no powerlifting gyms in Manhattan. You got to go out to Brooklyn or to Jersey, someplace that has space.
Money. Sorry. Renata. 50 cents. Hi, Renata. Say hi, Renata.
Hey, Renata.
Kanopka.
I knew a
Kanapka.
guy named with the last name of Kanopka.
It's,
How are ya? Thank you.
Polish. You know, speaking of being healthy, we were supposed to eat a sandwich about maybe a half hour ago during the show. I have to throw a shout out to one of my favorite places to get sandwiches when we're here in Scotch Plains. Of course, my friend
Is it
Clemente.
still warm?
But it's still hot.
Is it?
One of the best food trucks
I'm gonna try it.
in
If I die, send 50 cents
send a dollar.
for the medical bill.
Is Mr. Big C's food truck. My friend Clemente Semino from Naples, Italy. It's on Terrell Road in Scotch Plains, right on the edge of Plainfield.
Oh, that's really good.
And he made us these great sandwiches tonight. But we were having such a great conversation about. She just took my sandwich. This is the chicken, and it's got some spinach in it. It's good for you guys. If you're in the area, look him up on the internet. Clemente Semino. He's Mr. Big C's food truck. It's on Terrell Road. He's always bringing us some great stuff. I hope he's watching. I got to bite it myself. If you look deep into that sandwich, there's all the beautiful chicken, spinach, and love. I also have a cheesesteak over there and a nice sausage and pepper sandwich.
How do
Oh
you put
shit,
up
that's
with it?
fucking good.
Right?
Yeah. That's really good. That's stuck in my tooth.
Can't take this guy anywhere.
It's really stuck in there.
Security.
Remember Fat James?
Oh God. Yeah.
You don't like him?
He was a lot.
He was
I didn't
fucking
mean weight wise, but just
400 pounds.
with a pompadour.
He had the greatest hair. Looked like Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
One of the saddest things, and I will say this to everybody, when you're pursuing a career as a stand-up comedian, we're not in any union, and you don't get health insurance. And if you can't afford regular health insurance or whatever it is that you could possibly get, some guys just don't want to go to the doctor because they can't afford it. And he was one of them. And he had something on his leg, and he would never go to the doctor. After 6 months of it growing and growing and growing, they found out it was cancer. And he died within maybe 30 days of his 40th birthday. And that was really brutal for all the comedians because he was one of the nicest people you'll ever want to meet. And all he wanted to do was tell jokes. And he started to catch a rhythm. He was a funny guy.
Way to bring the room down, Mike.
Well, hey, we could bring it back up. We've done it before. You ever follow somebody that tanks?
I live in New York City.
Oh,
That's
shit.
redundant.
Is it really
I'm
that?
sorry, was this loud?
Is
I'm
it?
sorry.
Is it really that bad? I don't play the city. I haven't in a long time. I can't
don't
get this
really-
fucking piece of shit out of my thing. I don't play the city. I would
Won't your
like
teeth
to.
come out?
I would miss it. My teeth. I'm not that old yet. Could you clean these for me, please?
We need a rim shot on those drums. You want to do it?
I remember there were times, yeah, you would go up after somebody who was really, really
Oh.
bad, or somebody who started a fight, or somebody who was dirty. You were like, oh, what am I going to do?
Be funny. I made him spit. It's light beer. It didn't go anywhere.
It's getting late. It's getting dirty.
Oh, have you seen my act?
No,
Thank you.
I haven't seen your act in a long time,
I have a new album. Well, it's not new anymore.
but I would like to see it. Yes, tell everybody.
I have an album out on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you buy your music. It's called Brutally Yours.
Brutally Yours. That's great. Audio and video, or just audio?
Oh, yeah.
Just audio?
Yeah, I have a 4-record deal.
Why didn't you do it video?
It's a record company.
Oh, really? That's fantastic. All right, let's
It's a
tell
real-
everybody.
It's a real live record company.
Can we get it?
Yeah, I just. What am I, a chooch over here?
Now she's talking Italian.
Forget it. I just ate an Italian sandwich. Now my hands are working.
Tell everybody
what
where.
happens?
Tell them again because I would like to get it myself. I hope you brought me a copy.
Sure. Aw, I love you, Renata.
I've seen Christy Miller on stage in New York City. She's fantastic. Well, thank you. I'll tell you what. Why don't we take in some questions for Christy Miller right now, and then we're going to get going. So here's Camariri Zapala Mix, Brutally Yours. He loves the title. Cross that picket line, SAG after it. No, 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 no.
No,
That's
we
not
don't.
something we would do.
No,
No. Are you in SAG or AFTRA?
I was.
Yeah. What'd you do? Just FICOR it?
Yeah.
Where they say you're not in it for a certain amount of time?
Yeah, I just owe money.
Yeah, well,
Forget about it. I'm a comedian.
if you make
like
money.
yeah.
We're live performers. There's never been a union for live performers. There
Because
was
you know
for a little
why?
while. We
And
don't get along.
They try. Well, it's not even that. It's just that every club has like. There's no bias. There's no set standard to be in a club. You know, like an actor or anything like that. It's just, you know, it's whatever, each his own. There's always a comic that'll undercut you and do the same gig for less. You know, there's always there's too much bullshit, and there's too many bar shows, and there's too many like road gigs and off shit. It's just we're not organized. We're a mess.
I love this thing that you wrote over here. I'm physically stronger than most of the male comics.
Yeah. Fine.
Stronger performance-wise or stronger physically-wise?
Yes.
And we'll be right back after this commercial break. Here's the
Dun,
link.
dun, dun, dun.
Oh, somebody just put up your link.
Oh, Camareri. Oh my God.
All right. Well, he's asking for a shout-out, so let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Christy Miller's link just appeared in the comments on Facebook, and it's coming from my friend Joe Camareri, who is one of the original sponsors of Mike Marino Live from My Mother's Basement. These are Zapalas that you make. It's a mix that you make. We're going to let Christy Miller go home with one.
Yeah.
What was that?
Nothing. Look over there.
There's kids watching. And so
Yeah.
that's the Zapala mix. You
Who
can
do you
get
think
it
I
too.
learned it from?
The
Have you
kids.
seen the kids on TikTok lately?
I know, right?
They're all hooas. Anyway.
The Hoods. Hey, do your best dice.
I did a joke because I do Cher, I do Sharon Osbourne, and a bunch of other people, and I did a joke about Dice, about what's going to happen to him when he gets too old and he's in a rest home. Like, how are the nursery rhymes going to go over in, an assisted living facility? You can't say old folks home anymore.
How's it going to go?
It's like, hickory dickory dock. I was eating my bagels and lox. The clock struck tree. I dropped my false teeth on my lap right next to my cock. Ow! I'm here all week, ladies and gentlemen.
I got no choice.
See, what maybe.
I remember Andrew Dice Clay and I was sitting in the parking lot at maybe 4 o'clock in the morning. He was smoking cigarettes. He had this big Cadillac. The windows were up. And he goes, let me tell you this story. This is the real Dice.
Yep.
Not a stage Dice. The
This is
real
Andrew.
Dice. Because I know you like when I tell you these things. So I was talking to Les Movies the other day, and I says, Les, fuck your show. I don't want to do it. And I said, Andrew, you told Leslie Movies to go fuck himself? And he goes, that's right. And I go, why? He goes, he wants me there at 9 o'clock in the morning. I told him I'm a comic. I don't get up till noon.
Yep.
Fuck your show. And I went, is he hiring? I'll take a job.
Right?
Could you imagine?
I'd get up early.
Did you ever know when he did that album? Were you on the album?
Face down, ass up?
Yes.
Yeah, I arranged that photo shoot, and that's me on the cover.
Boy, was this show going to be another hour. Andrew
the black
Dice
girl in the
Clay
middle.
does an album called
Face down, ass
Face
up.
Down, Ass Up, and he asked me, Wheels, and Sebastian Maniscalco, I'd give anything if we could find this fucking video footage to do backup vocals when he did a rap song.
Oh, that's
We were so
right.
nervous. And he called us the Boogaloo Boys.
Yep.
And we went into that booth, and he goes, all I want you to do is go boogaloogaloo, 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 boo, boogaloogaloo, 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 boo. And we were petrified.
Yeah.
I'm like, I hope we get it right. What are the words?
Can you use it in a sentence?
And then he went in the other booth, and he was doing whatever he was
Yeah.
doing. I'm coming down the street, gee, ka, ka. We're like, boogaloogaloo, boogaloogaloo. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
I remember you had something to do with that. So you're on the cover.
Yeah, so Dice shot a documentary. It's called Behind the Leather, and I don't know when it's coming out. I thought it was coming out this year, but I'm not sure. Who knows? I did the palsy part of his, because he had Bell's palsy in 2021.
Right.
And so it was like, so I called him Palsy Shore, and I thought he was going to pee his pants. So, see, he likes it. He gets me.
See, everybody, you know Sebastian?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Remember
know him.
when
We
he
were
was-
all there.
Remember
we
when
were
he
kids.
worked at that wine bar when he was
Yes,
the thing and the
yes.
thing? Oh, Sebastian, this guy. And he, we did this tour. So I told this story on the documentary. Just I'm like, this will be a fun story to tell about Dice, and it'll fit in with all that. And since I was a part of that album, and he calls my apartment. This is back when we had landlines and voicemail on the landlines.
Yep.
So I come home from the gym, and it has that little blinking thing on the phone. It blinks.
Yep. I got a message.
So I'm like, oh, somebody loves me. And I
Yep.
pick up the phone, and I listen to the message, and I hear, Christy, it's Dice. Call me back. What the fuck? All right. So I call him back. I go, what do you want? He goes, how do you feel about showing your ass? I'm like, to who? On the cover! Like I'm supposed to know. And he goes, how does it look? And I said, it's okay for a girl, but not bad for a guy. He goes, what is the matter with you? Like, don't ask me stupid questions. I'm going to be an idiot. So he goes, do you know any place like, sexy or cool that we could shoot it? And I said, I do a Wednesday night show at the Cat Club. When Slim Jim Phantom owned that club from the Stray Cats. Him and his business partner, another, family guy. And you might know him. And
From around the way.
the guy with the guy.
With the thing.
And so I tell Slim, and I said, hey, because it was like, had leopard fur on the walls, and it was a very sexy club, and, it was just a really great spot. I loved that place. So I asked Slim, hey, this Dice wants to shoot his album cover, and I told him about your club. Could we shoot it here? He goes, yeah. He goes, oh my God, I'm here all day doing the books. Just come in and do whatever you want. I'm here, so don't worry about it. Use it as long as you want. He goes, my kids play soccer with his kids. I go, I don't care. So I go, I love Slim. If you're out there, I love you. I miss you.
What's up, Slim?
And so cut to, I tell him about it. He loves it. So he walks in. We sat out. The crew shows up, and there's 2 porn chicks on the site and me. And I'm like, oh, this is like which one doesn't belong, which one is not like the other. And that was me. And I'm like, what am I, the other sister? They were dying. They don't know what the other sister is. You don't even know what the other sister is.
I got an assumption of what the other sister is.
The other sister was a movie with Juliette Lewis and what was his name? Giovanni Ribisi.
Oh, wow.
And they played mentally challenged kids, because you can't say retarded anymore. So it's mentally challenged.
hate
and
that.
they found, I know, it's my favorite word.
I know.
So
many fucking retarded people.
I know, me included. So anyway, so anyway, I'm like, what am I, the other sister? Like, because these hot porn chicks. And it was Midori and Christy Swanson. And I find out Christy was white, Midori was black, obviously, with a name like Midori, because it's, sexy. White girls can't pull that off. So we're not that cool.
A stripper
And
name.
so I find out that Midori, they're both famous in that world. Midori is Jody Watley's sister,
Oh, wow.
the singer. And I'm like, how the fuck did this happen? And she's laughing. I'm making her laugh the whole time. I'm like, so I called her Jody Twatley. That was the only way I was going to address her. And we were dying. Like, her and I bonded instantly. I live for her. And so we're doing the shoot. And every time in between takes, Dice would literally stand in front of me and open his leather jacket and block. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, don't look at her. Look at them.
Who's
They're-
protecting you?
Yeah, totally like a big brother. It
Yep.
was so sweet. I thought it was very sweet.
This is great. I hope they do behind the leather.
It's called Behind the Leather.
Behind the
And
Leather.
They did a lot of footage of him, and I can't wait to see it.
I think somebody told me they saw footage of us at the Comedy Store when Dice had his camera, and he was videotaping everybody doing stupid shit, and he called me the Russian comedian, and I wasn't going to speak English at all. So he goes, I want you to run over there, go in the kitchen, come out of the kitchen, come out the back door, then just run by the camera. And I'm like, but why am I doing that? Just do it. And you did it. He's like,
Because he would yell at you.
just do it. I did. And you did everything.
Yep.
What a good time. What a good
Yep.
time. What a good time.
He's one of the funnest people to hang out with and go on the road with.
Yeah.
He's so fun.
We all have great memories of a great place called the Comedy Store, but we're also still creating memories. So if you would, once again, tell everybody about your album, tell them where they can listen to it, where we can follow you on all social media, and stay in touch. And we're going to have you back on the show because there's this is the longest podcast I've done. I've never gone to an hour and 20 minutes. No way. I usually ended 50, 55 minutes. But I had a funny feeling we were going to talk because it's like going back to your roots or something.
But
I don't know.
you and I haven't seen each other in like 20 years.
Yes, is it 20
So
years
we're
I haven't
catching
seen
up.
you? We're
Yeah.
catching up with each other live.
Yes.
We're probably going to get together because we got to do some shows
We
together.
have to.
We'll do
Oh, my
something,
God,
whether we do it in
yes.
New York or
Doesn't
we'll
matter
get you
where
on
we
some
do it.
shit here in New Jersey.
Let's do it.
mean-
I'm doing August 4th and 5th. I will be headlining a new comedy club in Newark, the Mecca. It's called the Comedy Diner. And did you ever know Jim Madrinos?
Yes.
He owns it with his best friend John G.
Excellent.
They took over an old diner, Annabelle's Kitchen in New Jersey, and they converted it into a comedy club. And it's so fun, and it's a BYOB because it's a diner. And it's the food is really good, but it's just, he redid the whole place, and it's so fun. And I'm headlining it August 4th and 5th at the Comedy Diner. You get tickets. I have the link tree in my bio. You can follow me on all the socials at Christy Miller Comedy. And if you love me, follow me. If you hated me, I've been Kathy Griffin.
Guys, follow Christy Miller. And on the 4th and 5th, you said?
Yeah.
Newark, New Jersey's 20 minutes from where we're sitting right here. It's a very famous little area. There's some nice areas in it still.
It's on the nicer side.
It's on the
Washington.
nicer
It's
side.
by Rutgers.
You'll only get killed if you come in through the bad side. It's not
So Newark, Penn.
Newark. It's the best. Well,
But
that's really great. And I have heard about this place.
It's
Maybe
fun.
it was Mr. Direct Markland who told me about
Probably.
it.
He knows
but
everything.
Somebody else told me about it. Then maybe we're gonna all go down there and cheer you on, for
Yay.
sure.
And buy my album, Brutally Yours. It's on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, Tidal, you name it, whatever streaming. It's
Look at that. Comedy
Renata,
Diner's
yeah,
fun.
yes.
And the wings are to
yeah,
die
the
for.
food is really good.
All right, so you get great food and you get great comedy. All right, well, listen, we got to get going. Want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I hope you had a great time. We've been here for a really long time. There's an hour
Thanks
and
for
20
hanging out
minutes.
with us. I feel honored.
Yes. Go to Christy Miller's social media. Follow her. Stay in touch with her. You know where you can find me. I got a lot of shows for the next 3 weeks while I'm here in the great state of New Jersey. Maybe I'll be lucky to get a booking at what's the diner called?
The Comedy Diner.
The Comedy Diner in Newark, New Jersey. Right now, stay in touch with me. You can watch us on iTunes, Google, Spotify, Anchor, Italian American Radio in New York City, and everything is on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Patreon. You could send me some money on Patreon. I wouldn't mind
You're a
having a
whore.
couple of extra. I'm a total
I love you.
fucking whore. We got to make some money.
Can I just make some comment? Italian
Sure, go ahead.
American Radio.
Italian American
And New
Radio.
York is kind of
out New York
redundant.
City. I guess. I don't know.
Hey, we're on the fucking radio.
And the guy who runs the
Goodbye.
radio
Good
station
night.
is Johnny Violin.
Of course he is.
No, mandolin. Johnny Mandolin.
What did he do? Kill somebody with a mandolin upside the head? Is that what happened?
Well, he don't play it.
Exactly. They don't know how to play it, but
Johnny
it's sure it's a nice
Mandolin.
smack upside the head. Forget about it. How you doing?
Stay in touch with everybody. A big shout out to my producer, Tatiana Blue Shell, for always making sure that we put out a great
and Renata,
podcast.
I love you. I love you, Janet and Camareri. I'm
Janet
stealing this, by the way.
Camareri. You could take it.
Okay.
We're going to eat some
And
more
Anthony,
sandwiches.
and Anthony from Bensonhurst, Long Island.
Anthony, hoping to see you when you're in Wappingers. Yes, I'm going to be playing Wappingers. I love social media. This
love
is
that it's
really,
called
really great.
Wappingers.
I don't even know
It's
what that
racist.
means.
It's
Is it?
race- wop.
Oh, it's a wop. Without papers. Wappingers.
Good night.
All right.
Related to you? All right.
Hey, this weekend, folks, I'll be at the Villa Roma. I will be at the
I
Surf
love the
Light
Villa
Theater.
Roma.
It's cool, isn't it?
I love that place.
Going
Me and
up
Janice
there.
Massetti are working on doing a night there together. Do you know
Janice?
Janice Massetti? She's
Of
been around
her.
for 400 years.
Yes, she
Yeah.
she plays the. She was playing this room in New York, and she gave me a spot.
Yeah. That's my girl.
Nice
That's
Italian
my
girl.
husband. Yeah. Italian. Okay.
Yeah,
No, she's a Cuban.
Massetti. Sounds very Italian to me.
Yeah, I thought she was too, but she's Jewish. And
You know what? I think I'm going to
Spanish.
invite you right now on air. I'm going to be performing at this place called Botagra on July 26th. Botagra. You think that's Italian?
I've heard
the
puta,
Botagra.
the Botagra.
Thank you for the money, Renata. And then I'm going to go out to New Hampshire and on and on and on, and everything is at MikeMarino.net. We got to get going. Remember, everybody, make America Italian again. You know the motto. You don't know nothing, you don't see nothing, you don't say nothing. And how do I end every single one of my broadcasts? By saying the same thing with my guest. Don't take no shit from nobody.
I don't.
You ready?
Oh, I have to
Don't.
say it-
We're going to say it together.
What are we, Sonny and Cher? Hey, look out for the tree. Don't take no shit from anybody else. Bet no one ever sang it before.
Nobody's ever done that before. That was
Don't
fantastic.
take no shit from nobody, baby. Woo. Hey, I'm stuck. Help.
Do it for the people up there.
Don't take no shit from nobody, baby. Woo.
All right. Don't take no shit from nobody. We'll see you next week on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock live from my mother's basement. Thank you so much, Christy Miller.
I
You
love
are
you.
absolutely the best. Holy shit, an hour and a half. I got to go to bed.
Hey, Grandpa.
Hey folks, I hope you're enjoying watching my podcast live from my mother's basement. We're having a lot of fun, and I'm going to have a lot of great guests on the show in the future. So if you like it, hit like. You could also leave a comment. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch other funny videos. And you could also listen to my podcast on your favorite podcast app like Spotify and iTunes.